Yes, team, how are we? I hope that we're well. Welcome back to another High Performance Coach podcast episode. Today, I am joined by my two favourite people. Firstly, Lola. So if you hear any barking, any groaning and or somebody just in the background, it's probably Lola looking for treats and or attention and or she's found a ball. And we're also joined by my equally favourite person, Leanne. We obviously wanted to do this podcast because we've been on our own kind of incredible personal journeys individually and then also as a collective and together. And I can remember the days that we sat back in our old flat on a small little sofa. Leanne would go live on Facebook and I would go live on Facebook and we would just sit and answer questions. Typically, nobody would ever turn up and nobody would ask us questions. So we'd just literally turn both the phones on and just make up questions and just chat away for the best part of an hour. And little did we know, obviously, that was going to be something that would obviously be such a catalyst that would now allow us to step into the coaching side of things and everything that we do now. So we thought it'd be great to obviously sit on the sofa with the fire on. So we hope that the camera is not going to overheat and catch up, talk, and give us a little insight into Leanne, us, and all things happening and what we're up to moving forward. So Leanne, what are you laughing at? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
You had a good day?
Yeah, been a good day.
Good.
Have you had a good day?
I've had a good day.
Good.
Take me back, Leanne, to when we first met.
We first met back in 2013, which is 10 years, do you know?
I do now.
Yeah, 10 years ago, which is crazy, 10 years, which is mad. But yeah, so I was starting my own fitness journey. I just finished university. Well, actually, I was still at university. It was my last year. I was really out of shape. My outfits weren't fitting me anymore. And I just started going to fitness classes and started running on the treadmill. And me and my friends all had this running joke that there was a guy working in the gym. So we just called him Hot Gym Guy, which was you. And you were working that day. I was running on a treadmill and my friends came in and I was about to leave and they said they were going to an abs class which you were taking, and they were like, come to the abs class, like you need to come. And I was like, no, I've just ran for an hour, like I don't want to do abs. But they managed to get me to go along to the class and there was too many people, so you had to pick someone to be your partner.
Yeah,
so then that was the first time I think I'd spoken more than one word to you.
Yeah. At that time, I basically looked like Johnny Bravo. My hair was stuck right up, and obviously, I had the smallest t-shirt possible on. But yeah, we basically used to run obviously fitness classes on a lunchtime, and it just so happens that I was putting together an abs master class or blast. I can't remember what it was called, and there were 7 people. It was either I had the choice of now going with Leanne or Leanne's friend, and obviously it ended up going with Leanne. Coincidentally,
my friend was a man, so obviously maybe it was nicer to go with the kiddo than a man.
And then obviously I'd seen Leanne out in a nightclub not too long after that and walked up to her and she completely ignored me, completely pied me and pretended that she didn't actually know who I was and she'd never met me before in her life. And I was like, yeah, well, I was that guy that we were throwing med balls at one another and we were doing that abs thing. She's like, nah, sorry, don't remember you. So that literally did my ego absolutely no favours whatsoever. And 10 years on, the rest is history. So Leanne, obviously university, you were studying sociology. Criminology.
And sociology.
Yeah. And then you had the thought process of maybe wanting to step into
policing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the original goal.
But you didn't?
That degree. No.
What did you do?
No. I can't remember why, but I just had this feeling that like policing wasn't right for me. Like I had the shifts and yeah, I just wasn't sure what to do. So I just gave myself permission to have a little bit longer just to really think about things rather than jumping into stuff. I started working in a job in an estate agents. Absolutely hated it. It was just not for me. So then I regressed then again and I just went back to waitressing and I was like, that's it. I'm really happy waitressing. I've got flexible hours. I can keep doing all my training that I was doing because I was really loving that then. And just give myself a wee bit more, just a bit of permission to just find out what was for me. And that led into starting a fitness business, which was absolutely crazy. I just started sharing what I did in the gym, just being really honest with my training and back then, I think we can both agree there wasn't a lot of women. 10 years ago, there was not a lot of women in the weights area in the gym. There were probably maybe myself and 2 others that we would know of.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really kind of unknown. So then a lot of people would be approaching me on Instagram like, oh, like, I love what you do. It's really cool to see the transition from being an absolute pisshead at university to being this really health-focused person and the benefits I was seeing from it. That led into creating the female fitness program.
Mm-hmm. And what do you believe gave you the confidence to now be able to step away from running on the treadmill and being the piss head, and now allowing you the confidence to step into the gym and focus on obviously going into an environment that was obviously predominantly male orientated at the time?
Oh, I don't know. I just think the more I did it, the more comfortable I got with it. I remember like the first time you took me down for like a little fitness class, and I remember it was like deadlifts, squats, Turkish get-ups, I think, and a likeness. I remember the workout, and you showed me it right away, and I think just someone being there with me and just showing me what to do was all I needed, because straight away I was like, I love this is amazing. And I did the same session for like weeks until you did eventually give me a new one, but I just loved it, and all I needed was someone just to walk me down those stairs and show me what to do. And I think once you've got a plan and you've done it and you repeat it, then you just build confidence from there.
Mm-hmm. And how did that lead to stepping into creating the female fitness program?
Just seeing that there was loads of interest and people were like, wow, I want to learn how to do this, can you show me? So then I did my level 2 and then did my level 3 whilst I was waitressing alongside that, and then just took the leap to, I seen you had started your business just like, I think there's always that year between us, isn't it? You started like a year or so before. I seen that you were doing it and people were asking me to help them, that I was like, okay, this is maybe something that I can do. Joe's done it, so I can do it too. So that's what I knew it worked and thought I'd give it a go. I didn't have ideas of where it would go, but thought I'd try it, why not?
Yeah, we were talking last week about how I remember when Leanne first got the job at Pure Gym in Shawlands, which is Glasgow, and we were kind of 30 miles from Glasgow, and she had her first ever shift, which was a Sunday shift at 6 a.m. And the night before, she had to deliver her first ever fitness class, and I basically hadn't given the time and or the energy to Leanne to now be able to allow her the opportunity to be able to plan for that fitness class. So we were up incredibly late. There were a lot of tears and a lot of emotion. Mm-hmm. But we managed to finally get there, and there was a lot of, I don't have the belief, or I don't think that I can do this. Mm-hmm. But you went in and you crushed it.
Yep, definitely. I think we always remember that moment. Because I was so panicked that I honestly, I was terrified of hosting the class. But again, once you do it and you know you can do it, you build confidence. And it was a big turning moment, I think, doing that. Yeah,
and I remember as well, it's like a lot of times as well, I think, where especially with like coaches now, it's like, how can I now cut corners, or what steps can I now take to get there quicker? And like, even for you with the FFP, it was like, you actually didn't have the female fitness program. You went through the journey you went through, but then it was like, right, okay, every single weekend you were putting up then a weekend workout on YouTube that you were doing for free, that we had like people like my mum would be doing, or like my auntie would be doing, or like just random people would then be doing and messaging you, and they'd be like, I've just done a 2 or 20 minute kind of HIIT workout. And then that was the very thing that actually allowed you to realize, right, okay, actually I can maybe make this into more of a thing. That wasn't just now kind of doing home workouts, and actually I could now build it obviously into a program, which was obviously then a 10-week program, an 8-week program. And that's obviously now kind of been how long did you run that program for?
I started coaching in 2015. So I think I started the female fitness program, which was a group program. I think I started that maybe in 2016, 17, I think.
And how many women would you say that you work with within that kind of period of time?
It would range, but at one point we probably had, like, at a max, we had about 120, 130 women on the group program, and then we also had one-to-one in the gym, and then we also had one-to-one online as well. So it's quite a big thing about at one point.
So working with all those women, how did that now allow you to develop as a person or as a coach?
As a coach, I guess I really kind of realised that I think the strongest thing for me that I didn't know that I was actually doing or building was just like a really strong community for women. Because it's online as well. I think a lot of people had a lot of doubt back then of like, what is the whole point in doing an online program? But it was really nice because people were training at home or people were training in the gym, but they were all very different, but they all had lots of similar traits, and they all wanted to just be better, they all wanted to be fitter, they wanted to be healthier, and they wanted to just do it in a healthy, realistic way. And I think, like, for me being a coach as well, I was very honest when I was fucking up, and we were all talking about not being perfect and that doesn't get you results. So like, I think it was just a real safe space for women to kind of be in, and they all felt like they knew each other, so it was really, really special what we were building. So I think that was a great thing that just naturally happened, or I was naturally good at. Just to kind of know that women needed a program like that, I think was the biggest thing. Yeah.
And I think we said at the time, like, there wasn't many, we weren't really aware. Again, we obviously live in our own little bubble, but it was like we weren't really aware of anybody else that's kind of really doing anything like that at the time. So it's almost like you allowing yourself the opportunity to step into that kind of like quote unquote blue ocean, and being able to now work with those hundreds of women, that you were able to do so with the intakes that you are now kind of like building. And I think the thing is, we say all the time, it's almost like we didn't really know what we were creating, what we were building, but we're having a good time and enjoying it, and we're training it as part of our life. And then you just then get to just like build incredible relationships with people who are then getting results, and then it starts to kind of just work its way through. And I think not only that, of course, there were challenges, there were people that didn't get results, and there were obviously kind of like challenging moments and tears and emotion, but I think it's in those moments that you actually then learn and grow and develop and kind of improve. So how do you think that's...
We always say all the time as well, is like when we're out walks and stuff, we always think back to those days, and we always think, oh my God, like the actual building process of a program is like the best part. It's not, there's never really going to be that final happy place where everything's sorted, and sometimes when you do get there, you just break it all back down again, because the building part is the best part. But when you're in it and when you're doing it, you've got no idea where it's going to go, but that's exciting. It is exciting, but at the time sometimes it doesn't feel as exciting, does it? You don't know what's going to work out and how it's going to go, and we've got more responsibilities now compared to back then as well, when we were younger.
I think you can only connect the dots when you look backwards, and then you actually start to see, actually, do you know what, like, that's what I mean. You don't realise actually how good it is, because sometimes all you see is the challenge and the responsibility and everything.
Yeah, and I hear someone once say as well, is like, sometimes you don't realise, like, you always go, oh, those were the good days, but it's like you're actually living in the good days right now as well, and sometimes we forget that. And I loved when I heard that quote. Yeah,
absolutely. And how do you think that's now kind of like shaped and moulded what is now Lead Her, and how that's kind of been created off the back of the FFP and working with those women? What did it like teach you or allow you to see?
I think like with kind of moving into Lead Her, it's me maybe kind of maturing more as a woman. So obviously FFP, Female Fitness Programme, came out after uni from me losing weight, getting fitter, getting healthier, going to the gym, and that's where all my kind of client base was at that time as well, and people that were following me on Instagram, all very similar ages, or they were a few years behind, so they'd just gone through that. And what I've kind of noticed is, like, over, how many years is that, like 7 years? Like over maybe the last 5 years is like the conversation is changing, and like there's a lot of people that go to the gym. There's still maybe not as many, but there's still lots of people that go to the gym now. And I've noticed, like, with me growing, client base is growing as well. They've had children, they've had careers, they've been really busy, that we're sometimes now maybe focusing on kind of bigger things that affect our life and our health and our well-being, and we're actually starting to realise like what is really important to us now. So I feel like I've grown into find more passion and stuff like that as well. So there's just been this natural evolution into leaving FFP, which was a thing that I struggled with for a good year and a half to eventually do, to then find out that actually just I had to find this maturer brand that really suited my vision and now where I want to go. So to answer your question.
Yeah. And how did you feel, obviously, in that kind of year and a half, in that transition phase, when you're just trying to figure it out and what you were kind of like looking to do? Because I know that I felt quite lost, lonely, like things were good, but I knew that I was capable of more.
When you were moving into
the coach's coach. And I felt as though that I was working with lovely people and I had so much love and appreciation for them, but I just knew that I wanted to be able to shift gears in terms of what I wanted to talk about and what brought me joy. And it's quite difficult to communicate because there isn't really a problem, but you just feel as though there's something that's there that you just can't quite put your finger on that frustrates you. So did you feel?
Yeah, felt all of those emotions. So I think I'd found it really, really hard because I didn't know that lead her existed, because she didn't exist yet. I was kind of more stuck in this place where I was just a bit stuck, and I was like, just felt like I had so much more I wanted to do, and I wasn't sure what that was. So it was a really, really tough time, and like, obviously you're amazing, and if I am stuck with something, like, I would come to you and chat about it, but I just couldn't work out what I was really kind of looking to do or where I wanted to be. And it's hard when you're in that messy part in the middle, the messy middle, and you don't know what direction you want to go next. But like, I had still amazing clients that I was working with. They were still living the lead her ethos. They were still doing all of that. But it was almost hard to like let the outside world know like what actually happened within my program, because we weren't just giving them a training program and going, off you go on and do it. We were literally changing their lives. Like, they were becoming more confident. They were more confident then within their career, within their relationships, like all these areas of their life that we were helping them. And I just like, how can I show the world that's what we really do? But when I was in that really, really tough time, I just made sure I was just looking after myself. I just kept doing the right things and the things that I knew I had to do, and knew eventually you're going to find your way. You just need to kind of trust that process, but it's really hard when you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like a regeneration phase that you've got to go through. You've got to give yourself the space and the time to now be able to think, right, okay, now what do I want? Where do I want to go? And I think actually you did it way better than me, because you've got far more patience than me, which is like just allowing yourself the time to be able to sit in that and go, right, okay, this is now something that I
don't think I've got more
I
patience.
think you
I
do.
feel like you just like evolved straight into
I don't think I do. I just probably just hid away. But for you, but I definitely think it's like that regeneration phase is difficult, because it's like you're not necessarily now like chasing and growing and building, and you're not maybe seeing the external world is not necessarily giving you back, you know, that kind of like validation of, yes, I'm doing good, and yes, I'm moving forward, and yes, I'm growing, and I'm seeing these things now happening, because you're having to do so much work, obviously, internally, which can then just feel as though that you're just on this kind of like treadmill, this is a battle, and you feel one step forward, two steps back. Yeah,
100%. We had to break everything all back down the way from where it was. Which is a little bit on the ego, isn't it? When you're working with all these clients, you've got all these clients buzzing to kind of go, do you know what, that's not what I want to do anymore. That's not the direction I want to go now. Like, now let's strip it back and work with people that I really know love the program and that value it and really want to get there. Like, it's so much more exciting working with these women. So I did have to strip it all back, and I'm still building it back up again. But like we said earlier, like, building it's the best part and the exciting part. But yeah, I think I heard in a podcast the other day, which was amazing, was like, sometimes you need to have setbacks to then set you up to something new. And it also really helps me to relate now, like, going through this process of like the hard times now, is that you can really relate to what my clients had experienced as well when they're feeling lost and frustrated, because I've just I've literally just been there to being able to share that on social media and stuff now, because I couldn't relate back to that girl that was like just out of university, just getting excited in the gym and just losing weight, like, because I felt like that was 8 years ago, 10 years ago now. So it, in the nicest way possible, it was a horrible, hard experience that I've gone through, but it's definitely helped me in so many ways now moving forward, I think. Yeah. So step back to go forward. Yeah.
You've got to grow and you've got to evolve, and you've got to allow yourself permission to do that. And like, you are not your business, and your business is not you. And I think for you, it's been like, well, who also is Leanne out with obviously just the FFP? And I think there's also been so many other, like we say all the time, like good things that have obviously been happening alongside that. And it wasn't like, say, there was a problem, you just knew that there was something more that you wanted to explore.
Oh, definitely. Like, I'm such a positive person. Like, I love my life. I love just being able to walk a dog. I've got a great work-life balance. Like, we've just got married. Like, so many positive things, and it's great. But I just wasn't like, it was just that part of me was like, there's so much more I could do. It was an option. I could have just stayed doing what I was doing. It was working and it was perfect and it was great. But I was just like, I just knew I could do more and I could help more of these women and really show the world what we do. So yeah.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift gears.
Okay.
Ready? How do you think, and what do you think has allowed us to work incredibly well as a partnership and in our relationship?
I think we are very good at communicating. Very good. Obviously it's taken time to build and to do. We've not always been amazing at it, but I know some couples that would text each other what they're feeling rather than speaking it to each other, and I think we spend a lot of time talking on walks and making time for each other, and I think that's really important. What would you say?
I would completely agree. I would definitely say it's obviously been the communication side. I think it's actually having a shared like mission in terms of like, this is what we value. This is what brings us joy. This is what we're passionate about. This is what we're excited about. And I also think allowing each other the opportunity to now be able to have our own thing. There's been times whereby we have had discussions and I've had thoughts about, okay, does now Leanne come in and basically work alongside like me and us and develop? And every single time it's always been, no, actually, she wants to have your own thing. And then actually in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, that's so important for you actually having your own kind of like purpose and your own baby and your own thing that you're now focusing on, and the thing that you're channeling your energy into. And I think it's nice that I have mine, but we have a understanding of one another that I think definitely works incredibly well. And we have obviously similar interests and very, very similar kind of like values. And I think we lead our own lives, but then also come together.
Yeah.
And I think you give me the autonomy to go and do the weird and wonderful things that I need to go and do, like go and run crazy miles or go and cycle the length of the country or go and work. You know, actually, I asked Ben, I was like, Ben, what question would you want to ask if you were basically listening to this podcast? And he basically said, I'd love to know how Leanne lets Joe work so much. I think that's only so he can let his Leanne listen to the podcast and get the answer so he can go. But he basically said like, okay, but you do allow me that permission to be able to go and build and develop and do what I need to do, because you know that that's like me and that's where I get the greatest amount of fulfillment. And there's also times where you'll be completely honest and transparent and you'll communicate with me where you are and how you're feeling.
Yeah.
If I am not aware of my other responsibilities that I have, that I've potentially just fallen down on. And I do think the dog walk has literally probably been the anchor point that actually allows us to probably communicate at our best.
Yeah.
Which has been...
When you come out on a dog walk. How many times have you been out this week?
Yeah, I haven't been out as much this week, but that's only because I've had a few challenges.
But you know what, I actually did used to get annoyed though if you couldn't come out for a walk, but for me it's actually a little bit of time for me to listen to a podcast and I don't know, sometimes I like when you don't but I used to get annoyed when you couldn't, because I was like, we've got this dog, like I know it's good for you to get out and get fresh air, and I'd be like, oh for God's sake he's not coming, and then one moment I was like, you know, actually I kind of like listening to my book and
not having to listen to me babble on. Yeah, but that's it. But I'm exactly the same. Like I really enjoy us walking together. It's the only time of the day that we have no phones. But then also at the same time, I quite like it when you're not there, because it actually just allows me to have like space and time to think. Quite often, as long as Lola's not eating shit and whatever else that she's trying to find on a dog walk, it can be quite pleasant and enjoyable. If she's not trying to be an absolute terror and trying to eat absolutely everything. But I definitely think the communication side of things has been like huge. What would you say you've developed from a communication perspective that's allowed you to communicate better with me, or like even communicate better with yourself?
I think it's just kind of realising like you don't know what's in my head. So an idea of this like comes in straight away is like sometimes you can be doing stuff on your phone and I'll be trying to cook dinner and hang up the washing at the same time, and it used to like enrage me. I'd be like, how can he not see that I'm trying to do all this stuff? And then I was like, well, I've not told him. So as soon as I was like, do you know what, can you actually just help me with this washing, because like I'm trying to cook dinner as well, and put your phone away, and just like saying that was important, and it saved me time and made my life easier just by telling you that. Like straight away now, if I'm doing the washing, I'll just say, oh, can you help me? Rather than just like expecting you to just do it, because everybody thinks differently, don't we? And we all have different values and different beliefs and different behaviours, that you can't just expect people to do what you want them to do. You sometimes need to have the conversation about it and why it's important to me. I think that's something that comes to mind for me, is letting you know how I feel and what I need at that time. It's
like not reading your mind. And again, that's also like my inability to be able to understand, and potentially, again, you get caught up in your own bubble sometimes. You're thinking about, okay, boom, boom, and you're like, and again, we all have our own kind of like agendas per se. I do a lot of things around the house.
Yeah, you're really good. Like full credit to you. Like you're such a clean, tidy person. But that still doesn't mean that I can't ask for more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And again, that's a good thing. And do you know what? That's what I actually love about you. And we're having this conversation the other day. Is like, it's funny because if I ask some people like, oh, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Or if I say to Aaron, what do you think about that? He'd be like, yeah, it's really, really good, mate. And then if I say to Leanne, what do you think about that? She's like, yeah, you could do so much better. And that's the thing that I love, like most importantly, because actually there's been so many times that Like I've been doing presentations, or I've been planning for talks, or I've recorded a certain video, or I'm thinking about whatever I'm thinking about doing. And then I will either present it to Leanne or show Leanne or like tell Leanne, and she will actively challenge me and tell me that she knows that I can do better. And in that moment, I'm like, there's a part of me inside of me that's like, oh, fucking like just, and but then
you do it to me as well.
Yeah, but then on the flip side of that, it actually makes me realize, and every single time she's always been right, and it's because she knows that I'm capable of more and better, and I've got the opportunity to, again, like not just settle for that. And I think that's the very thing that's now allowed us to work so incredibly well. And again, like for me to be able to now learn that that's actually you now, that's a form of like your love for me. And it's a positive thing, like I do with you, and it's a positive thing when I do it to you.
It to me. Like, we'll sit down and we'll talk about something, and you'll give me some advice, and I'll know you're right, but it just really annoys me. But it almost takes me like a day to really digest it, and then I sit down and go, yeah, he's right, and then I go on and I do it. But at the time, it really annoys me.
Yeah, but I think that's. And
then I do it to you, so I can't be annoyed.
But I think that's a good thing. And I think it's so good because every single time you do it, I can only ever think of like, every single time, like it's literally made such a big difference. But in that moment, you're like, but yeah, that's just your way to now know that you know that I'm capable of better and more. And you think that it can be communicated and or conveyed in a different way, probably with less words, with less speed, and actually just maybe more succinct. But I think that in terms of communication has also been like absolutely huge. And I think, like I say, the understanding of, right, okay, what do we actually want? What do we want our life to look like? Like what's important to us? Even you said to me yesterday, it's like, okay, you're planning all these challenges and you're going to run and do all this stuff. But like, when are we now going to book, obviously, the times that we're now going to go like away on holidays? And obviously we had a period of time that we're in Spain, and we do travel and we love going away to places. But I'm more of a spontaneous, last minute, okay, let's do this. Whereas you like, okay, this is our agenda, and let's now like plan this out, because actually we need to plan and consider what we're going to do with the dog, or what we're going to do. Basically, you're the sensible and responsible one, and I'm just like, let's just do this spur of the moment kind of thing. But even that, it's like, okay, let's sit down, let's now plan these kind of like trips and what we now want, and like, okay, what are we looking to build and create? You know, we even have like open conversations about like family and considerations and where we are right now and our thoughts around that, and like just being okay with that and having that open space, rather than it being like, okay, actually almost like being afraid to share and or say, just in case you offend one or the other, based upon like what we're thinking or what we're kind of looking for.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Anything else that you think that we've done well as a team within our relationship that supported like our own kind of like personal growth, our own kind of health, our own like development in terms of the business and the impact we want to have, and or even just the fun that we have?
What do you think?
I think the ability for us to now be able to have things that we do together. So for example, like the way in which we now like eat and nourish, in terms of like our shakes in the morning and the routines that we now have. The cooking that you do for me that makes sure that I actually now eat my food. Otherwise, I'd literally just have a protein bar. I'd have a protein bar, a coffee, and a green shake, and then that'd literally be me. But I think even like a shared interest, like the Six Nations, and like loving watching rugby, like loving, again, walking Lola every single day. The training that obviously we're not trained as much together recently, but even like when we're away in Spain, like training together every single day, you know, and like having the little things that we now do like for us, which I think is so powerful, because again, like our habits and our routines are similar, which I think actually just removes friction and makes it far, far easier. And I think an understanding as well, like, although this is almost like Joe, Leanne makes you seem so much better than you actually are, which is completely true. I think there's times whereby I will acknowledge and appreciate where you are and what you've got going on and how busy you are. And then I'll obviously then think about, okay, food or this or that or whatever, and try and make your life a little bit easier. Do I get it right all the time? Absolutely not. But then also it's exactly the same. Like you appreciating, right, okay, I've got this much going on. So it's not like you do this and I do that. It's like, yes, there's certain things that you do more of than me and I do more of than you. We have our own little kind of responsibilities that you would never do and I would never do for you. Yeah. But then also I think it's the understanding
like
of one another.
Kind of team. So like I notice this more. Like I notice a lot, like I said, you do a lot around the house, but like I notice it a lot more when you've been away with friends and stuff like that on holiday. And it's like, oh my God, like I need to do everything. It's really hard. So we just naturally do work like a team, and I don't notice until you're away how much you do.
Yeah. And I think even just like
it's like teamwork.
Yeah, the travel, the experiences, they're going for, going out for dinner, going for like breakfast, and actually now being able to do these things. And again, like we don't like, even like my work-life balance is like, going back to what Ben says, like I love what I do, I live what I do. And I think that's the thing, is like the big thing that I realized that removed so much friction for me was just realizing that my business and our business is an extension of us. So instead of now thinking, right, okay, life needs to be over here, business needs to be over here, how do we just now marry the two together and like, business is an extension. So our values and what we enjoy. So yours is like personally, physically, professionally, as like a kind of like as some core pillars. Mine's like person, coach, athlete, business owner.
Yeah.
There's other things that we now talk about that isn't just training, fat loss, nutrition, etc. That's the importance of like relationship, career, fun, freedom, all these kind of like exploration, and now kind of like living within those, and then actually just documenting those. Because you are the business in terms of, right, okay, you are the brand, and ultimately people are now going to buy from you because they admire and or see traits and or values in you that they either see in themselves or they'd love to see in themselves. So the more you can start to show that, the easier it becomes. So instead of now thinking like work's over here and life's over here, I found for me anyway, like just going, right, okay, everything is just now kind of like one, and it's not on off, it's like dimmer switch.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think for people that maybe don't have partners in similar industries, it's not like that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And it probably is a lot harder.
100%. And again, like I'm only speaking from our experience.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can imagine for couples that don't have that person that does understand that you're building something and you're working and you love it, and they want you to come and have dinner with the family or earlier or something, that it's a lot harder for them.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And then
but
again,
that's when it comes back to communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'd say. It's like, it's just literally the communication side of things, and just the understanding of, okay, what are the needs, wants, and values of that individual.
But not just of the individual that's earning, it's the individual that's supporting as well. Like, you would need to say to your partner, like, what do you want to do, and letting them do their thing, and making sure that they know it's important to do their thing as well. I think not to be stereotypical and to just say it's women, because there's a lot of women that I know you have who are like the breadwinners and very successful, but sometimes a lot of the time it can be women who don't have their hobby or their thing for me, and this is why like Lead Heart, it does exist for people like this. But it's just that way that, yeah, it's good for you to have your thing, but it's helping them discover what's their thing as well, and help them have their own things that they love. And I remember one time, I can't remember where we were going, but I ended up on a flight next to an older guy. We were going skiing or something. I was next to an older guy, and he was saying to me, like, I just will always remember this conversation. I always think you always learn the best things from like people that are older than you. And he was talking about him and his wife, like they've lost lots of friends, and what they realise is like when their friends pass away or whatever, their partner has nothing. Like they only had each other, and that was it. And he really kind of sat down and was telling me that how him and his wife just see it's so important to still be together and have their things together, but have their things with their own friend groups and their own hobbies and stuff like that as well. So it's so important that if your partner isn't interested in that industry and interested in everything that you do, because it's not all about you, is like, well, what can you find that they'll love and they want to do too?
Yeah.
I think
it's so. I think I'm just literally thinking there's two ways I was going to go about this. I think there's two. It's so important, like you say, for you to now be able to have, like you say, your own thing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it has to have your purpose first, and it's like I have to now be able to serve myself first and please myself first and make myself happy.
Yeah.
In what I now do, in order for you then to be able to bring more to the other person. And I think that's also been a kind of really, really powerful lesson for me. The second lesson that I was then thinking about was what Kathy taught us, who's an incredible lady. She's a former hostage negotiator, and now does a lot of things on communication that me and Leanne have worked alongside. And it's like sometimes there'd be quite a bit of friction because we both want to be able to provide solutions to people's problems and provide them with the answers. And one big thing that we've now started to shift and do, even though that we know that we're doing it and like the intention behind it, but it's like I used to be, still am at points, like Coach Joe in the relationship. So it's like, okay, just do this. Have you considered this? Well, let's explore this. Let's think about this. Well, what do you think? And I then basically will start to relay instead of actually allowing Leanne to understand, right, okay, do you want me to listen to you or do you want me to provide you with a solution? And although like we know the intention behind that, kind of like the question, the meaning behind it.
Like, stop copying me. Like, stop it. I know what you're doing, but yeah, it does really help.
That does really help because I always want to take the pain away from you, and I want to be able to solve your problems so that you're happy and fulfilled and all these things. But actually, quite often you don't want that. You just want me to just sit and actively listen to you and not necessarily try and give you a solution to the problem, because that's not what you're looking for.
Yeah. And also when you do say that, it does help me go, oh, actually, what do I want?
Okay.
What am I prepared to do here? Do I want to take action, or do I just want to have a moan?
Absolutely.
Sometimes a moan helps.
So if we now flip that,
Yep.
what are some of the challenges that you feel as though we have or frustrate you about me?
Maybe your timekeeping would still be one. You are so much better than you used to be. I know I think I've almost, like, all of our friends, like, will tell me, or even my family as well, and possibly your family will tell us dinners like 2 hours earlier than it normally is, just so we're there on time. So, like, I feel we all know what you're like, and we all put in a buffer. I put in a 30-minute buffer for Joe for every time you give me. You said we're going to walk the dog today and we didn't go out till 5:30. So I always do 30 minutes is like when we're actually going to do something. But you're so much better than you used to. But I think I've also created a way to deal with that, with that quality that you have.
I just get carried away on calls and conversations and chatting to people, and then I don't necessarily respect my own, like, boundaries that I've, like, put in place, because I'm just so immersed in a conversation or so immersed in something, and therefore obviously that can quite often run over. I just basically end up, like you say, just drifting away, and sometimes you're like, right, okay, and that's it.
To get to Glasgow from Stirling in like 15 minutes.
Of course, at the speed limit, which is important. Okay, my timekeeping, which frustrates you.
Yep. I feel like I tell you things that I'm frustrated with. Is there anything else? I don't know. Have I mentioned anything else recently that I just can't think of? Top of my head? No.
I don't know. I don't know. You tell me.
I can't think, but if I remember, I'll put it somewhere so that we all know. I can't think on the spot of anything else, but I feel like if I have, we deal with it and we work around it, or I just love you for it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Don't think you've got much choice.
Okay, right. Give me all of yours.
I haven't got many. The thing is, I've had the time to think about this question. So actually, when I was out running this morning, I was obviously collating and compiling, obviously, the list.
Yeah.
And then I basically was able to bring it down to only one thing.
Okay, great.
And do you know what the one thing is that frustrates me about you?
Well,
living with you.
If I see it and it's not the thing.
Well, then it's going to be two things.
Then it's going to be a couple, so I'll let you.
Go on, what do you think it's?
I don't know, because you told me that this annoys you. It's like, if I'm annoyed at something, I just go really quiet and you don't like it. Is that it?
No, that's not it. But yeah, that does frustrate me.
Yeah.
Because I want to be like, just let's talk. But then you're like, nope. And then you literally just go off. But again, that's my...
I go very quiet when I'm not happy.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had an argument. We've never had an argument because you just...
I need my time.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, that's that understanding. The biggest thing that frustrates me about you... What? Are you nervous?
No.
Is that I know how good you are and what you're well and truly capable of.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't allow yourself to see how good you actually are and the impact that you're having, and the growth, the strength, and how you lead and how you communicate and how you make people feel, and the energy that you bring. And I do think you, of course, acknowledge it, but I think you don't realize and or appreciate or give yourself credit for, much like obviously most of us, because we're always our own kind of like worst enemy or harshest critic, but actually appreciate actually how good you actually are. And I think that's a frustrating thing, because I see so much in you and what you're capable of.
Yeah.
But then I get frustrated because I know that sometimes you don't see it within yourself, and then that almost like holds you back at times. But I know what's in there, and I know what you have the ability to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's it, but that's true.
Yeah, thank you.
Because I think it's like when I see even now, like the evolution and like Lead Her and all the things you're now stepping into, it's like what you've been able to build, progress, do, the impact you've now been able to have, the ladies that you've now been able to work with and just like positively like change in such a profound way, and the way in which now people speak about you to me and also how you've like provided me with the support, the platform, the safety, and the opportunity to now be able to like go and be better myself. You always force me to improve, and you always force me to challenge myself, and you never kind of create like, this is what you need to do or this is where you need to be. It's like, it's always just like the biggest supporter and just driving me to want to be better and fulfill what I want to do, because you know that's important to me, which is then important to you. And having that platform, and then obviously what you're doing and the discipline that you have.
Okay, thank you.
It's incredible. What?
Nothing. Nothing. I don't have anything to say back. I agree with it. I know I am like that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
But I'm working on it.
What would you go back and say to the Leanne that was out of university, thought she wanted to become a police officer, decided then she didn't want to become a police officer, and then was like, what do I do? Where do I go? Was in the estate agents and was just a little bit like...
If you're listening on a podcast, I'm starting to die. Even just like saying that, like, what would you say to her? Is just like, don't give up. Keep going.
I'll cry
now. I think about it all the time. Like, I think about it. I'm just like, oh my God, like, how many times I could have gave up, or like just stopped trying, and I didn't, and I kept going, and yeah, I'm really proud of myself for that. So yeah, I would just tell her to just keep going. And you know what I would say to her as well is like, just have fun with it, because like I've noticed, like I said, like the start is always so exciting and you're building it, but I think you get to a certain stage where you start putting so much pressure on yourself to keep getting bigger and to keep doing more, and that you almost like fall out of love with it a little bit. But so like one thing for me this year is just to be like, I said to you as well, I know I'm safe, I know I'm happy, is like, I should just be having fun with this and knowing that if I can help one person, like that's fucking amazing. So yeah, like saying to Leanne back then, don't give up, keep working, it's worth it, you're better than you realise you are. And have fun, have more fun with it, and give yourself a bit of a break, I think.
Amazing. I'm proud of you. It's
you.
funny because you were just saying to me that you just showed me a social media post that you'd written a few years ago, and we were laughing. But it's not until you look back, you actually reflect, right, okay, like this is where I was, and this is how I felt, and this is how I wrote, and this is what I was talking about. And now when you look back at that, it actually allows you to realise how far you've actually come and what you have been able to build and what you have been able to go through.
Yeah.
But you have to sometimes give yourself that space and that opportunity to slow down.
Yeah, it's probably why I feel emotional, because I tapped into that a little bit today and just really kind of realised that. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
That's what I would say. What would you say?
To
Joey, I want one, maybe the one...
To Joey.
That was doing the abs blast class. What would you say to him?
You are worthy, you are good enough. People need you exactly as you are today. You do not need to identify as, this as your body, or you do not identify as your business, or you do not need to identify as trying to prove or trying to be somebody you're not. You just got to give yourself permission to actually now be able to own your weird and wonderful quirks and perks, the challenges, the vulnerabilities, and allowing yourself the opportunity to now be able to step into those and realizing that those perceived weaknesses that you have, or vulnerabilities that you feel as though you've got, and the stories that you've been through, are actually your biggest superpowers and your biggest strengths. And most importantly, people need you exactly as you are today, and you need to fear less that you're not going to get there, and trust yourself more, and allow yourself that opportunity to be able to, again, enjoy where you're going, and give yourself permission to be able to just appreciate the little things that you have, the relationships you're building, the fun, the joy, the experiences that you're kind of creating.
Would he be proud of you?
Oh, definitely. I think it's allowing yourself the opportunity to realise that it's you that's done this, and this is what you're creating, and we all stand on the shoulders of giants, and we all stand. We're basically a product of the people that are around us. So absolutely, I'll be proud, because I think if you told me that I'd be where I am now back then, well, I didn't believe it was even a job or even a thing or even actually I was even worthy and or good enough of anybody now listening to me, because I felt as though I had nothing to say and I didn't feel like I had any value to add other than the way in which I now kind of looked or how far I could kick a ball on a football pitch. And that was kind of me. So like now being able to accept myself for who I am and being able to put myself out there for that and being okay with that, I think is huge.
Cool. Good question.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll close up there because I'm not sure I can ask you another good question off the back of that. But Leanne, thank you. I hope that you enjoyed that. And again, I hope you're able to take something. And if you enjoyed us now sitting on the sofa with little Lola, with the fire on, shooting the shit, as I would like to say, and just catching up and connecting, and you'd love to hear more of that, then we would absolutely love to know. Aside from that, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have an incredible morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you're up to, and we shall speak to you soon.